Just use my mobile. Oh yeah, and we are live. So that's the regular meeting of Rundfunk MITBESTIMMEN. So first, it's just Smago and me, Robert. Will told us he wants to join later on. And this time we are going to set up a timer because we don't want to have lengthy meetings. So this is going to be done in 45 minutes. And my original plan was just not to make any tutorial, just have a retrospective to get everybody on the same page. And maybe talk a little bit about the new issues I added to, and the priorities maybe, and also the good user feedback that we that reached us today. So, Spago, do you think that's a good idea?
Yeah. Just checking the issues.
Yeah. So I would. For the retrospective, I would just say that my plan was just like every participant who was working on a pull request or something similar just explains a little bit about the issue, what was going on, what's the problem, how it is how it was solved.
So yeah, I was working with the issue with adding.
Can you share your screen?
Yeah. But I hear the echo of my voice.
Say it again.
I hear my echo.
Ah, I see. Maybe I should turn down my volume.
Ah, okay, cool. Now it's better, yeah?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so. Oh, it was. Yeah, I was working on the issue here that's already merged. Yeah, here.
Mm-hmm.
So at URL of the for image to the broadcast model, and yeah, there was not such a problem. I like it was my first time experience with Ember, so yeah, to check it out how it's work when the stuff is put at like where the templates and the templates have own components and stuff. So I didn't used to that. and
we have a new participant. Hello, hello. Sorry.
Domenico.
Domenico. Yes. Hello.
Hello. I made it.
Yes. Awesome.
And yeah, so I made the migration. Yeah, the problem in the start was that with the integration test, like something didn't work. So when you put up this Chrome driver, the headless Chrome driver, it started to working on the, and also on my computer, it started to working much better. Like I run with the Firefox driver, and it's worked much better than before. I don't know what have you actually done, but it's nice.
Yeah. So Dominica, you just joined. My suggestion was like everybody's quickly explaining the issue he or she was working on, how it was solved, and what the problems were to get everybody on page. And Smago just explained that he was working on the add image URL pull request. Did you see that?
Yes, just the last part of.
Yeah. So, and Smago just explained that we ran into certain problems. So, couple of days ago, we still used a non-headless browser for full stack testing. So, when you open the Cucumber test, the entire browser, the Chrome, the usual Chrome browser or Firefox, whatever you have chosen, will open up and run the tests. And you will run into certain problems when some node elements are overlapping. That can be the case if the browser is not large enough.
Okay.
And those are really nasty to debug, those errors. And the solution is not to use a non-headless browser. Use a headless browser for full stack testing. Problem solved.
Okay.
And that's what we did. And I quickly added the Chrome driver. And magically, as soon as Smago was merging the new commits into this branch, those errors vanished.
Okay. What driver did we use before?
Chrome, just plain Chrome.
Okay.
So you have the choice of a non-JavaScript runner. If you have a web application, plain Rails, and you're just testing HTML, no JavaScript. We have a single-page application with a lot of JavaScript, so you have to run a JavaScript-enabled browser for all of those full-stack tests. And for those, you can either choose a non-headless browser, like your normal browser that you use, Firefox or Chrome. Both is possible. I added the couple of lines to the README. And you can use an headless browser. Those headless browsers are for scripting and testing purposes.
Okay.
And a couple of years ago, it was common to use either Capybara WebKit or Phantom.js. And for example, the maintainer of Phantom.js, he stepped down because he said, okay, Chrome recently added a new version of Chrome, which is scriptable. Chrome driver, a headless browser, and it is exactly behaving as the real browser. So you can be sure that the browser is executing the same page like your real browser. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, so using Chrome driver solved a lot of problems for us.
Okay.
Awesome. Smago, did you see that a lot of people already used your feature?
Really? No.
Yeah, really. I think we had 3 users and 12 or 14 broadcasts which were added to the database. Can you just open up our application?
Yeah.
Yeah, immediately people were using the feature, which is good. And then they know how to use it. So they understand that they have to put in the image URL.
I have to log in, but yeah, okay.
For example, you can search for.
Yeah, if you know. Oh, I found one. This one. What is this? An arrow?
It's the logo of this broadcast.
Cool.
It's a radio broadcast. That's why they have such a logo.
Oh, another one. Filter.
Yeah.
Found this.
They are all very similar as logos.
Yeah. So there was one user, and she also wrote us an email. She really liked it. She said, "Wow, that's a great idea. Thank you so much. And can you please add these and these broadcasts to it?" She's apparently working in radio broadcasting. And I told her, yeah, of course, you can do the same thing. Like, just go ahead. You can create broadcasts. And so she did. And she added about 15 broadcasts to the database.
Wow. Oh, look at this.
Yeah.
Volkswagen wagon, or what is this?
Yeah, something like that. There's also a logo with a 9cat. One of those broadcasts has a 9cat as a logo, which I really like. Yeah. So it's a feature that is immediately used by people, and people really appreciate it.
Nice. Good stuff.
All right. Shall we continue?
Yep.
Domenico, I have to admit, I have to apologize. I did not have the time to look into the branch that you committed and pushed today.
Yeah, no problem. Like I said, I have to work on it because I even don't know if it is working on the, let's say, temporary table, temporary view KPI.
Yeah.
No, I didn't use statistic broadcast like we wanted because it's in some way it conflicts with the other views that are based on the statistic broadcast view.
Yeah.
So to tackle one problem at a time, I decided to create a new view that is in fact the same of statistic broadcast. The only difference is that it doesn't rely on the impressions table, but on the history impressions table.
Yeah, cool.
So,
maybe you just want to explain a little bit background and the reason and the issue, for example, to Smago. I think you, Smago, you probably don't know what Domenico was working on. Do you?
No, I don't know.
So yes, what we want is to have a way to show the.
Excuse me? Can you please show
Yes.
your screen, maybe, so you can explain it?
Yes, I have to find.
It's on the left.
Yeah, I know.
Browser.
I hope it's this.
You can say screen share.
Yeah. Do we have a screenshot of the line chart we want? Perhaps
no,
not.
there is no line diagram so far.
Yeah.
We only have a mocked-up line diagram.
Yeah, in the issues.
Yeah, I used a picture of a line diagram just to explain what we were going to do.
I don't know if it's this.
You can search for visualize/time.
Okay.
So that's a subtask. Yeah, in the meantime, I can explain what the idea behind that is. So there's a balance between, do you want to have an issue that explains the value for the user perfectly, but it's too large for example, new team members? Or do you want to have very fine-grained issues that are like one step in order to accomplish something? So there are now both. We have issues that explain the big picture, and we have small subtasks. And Domenico was just opening up one of those small subtasks. You just explain, okay, this code should produce that and that result, and they belong to the overall epic. For example, we want to show the performance of a broadcast within the last 6 months. Does that make sense, Margot?
Yep. Cool.
Is it this I'm showing?
Yeah, so that would be an example for a line diagram. I think that's a screenshot of chart.js.
Yeah.
And they just create some random line diagrams.
For example, let's imagine this is each line represents the assigned amount for a particular broadcast. Each line is a different broadcast. The value shows in time how much amount they were assigned to that broadcast. For example, here, the blue one, you have, okay, the values make no sense in our case. But you have in time, in the history, how much people were putting or assigning amount to that particular broadcast. So we had in some way to save the history of the impressions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I explained it well enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
We already have this paper trail. How we store the history?
Yes, but I don't know very well paper trail. But as I was looking at it yesterday, and as far as I understood, it allows you to see the different values of an attribute, but not to see. You cannot query, give me the value of this object of 2 weeks ago.
So
is this possible with paper trail? I don't think so, but I don't know.
I know how paper trail works. So what paper trail does is it adds one designated column, and when you update a broadcast, for example, it takes all the values of the broadcast, title, description, the station ID, medium ID, and puts that in a JSON.
Yep.
And this JSON will be stored in this column.
Yeah, we use
kind of the history. So it's perfect for the use case of auditing. Like you have people who are editing the broadcast, and then you want to revert changes, or you want to have this old state back. And that's good. We have it because I was afraid that people would troll our application. So we can revert the changes if necessary. It never happened. Thanks.
God.
But if it will happen, we have the option to revert to the old state. But these KPIs, we call it by now KPIs. It's more or less the same thing. So approval, total amount, average amount, expected amount, and so on. These are computed values. And they are computed based on a long table, like all the votes, or we call them impressions of the users. And if you would do the same thing for the past, let's say you would use paper trail on the impressions, you would have to go through all the columns, find all the right versions of all those impressions, get the JSON, and do all the computational stuff in memory. That's not what you want, right?
No.
Yeah, I can show you. Okay, so we use temporal tables to do that, and I can show you the document that in some way makes a graphical sketch of what the timetable does. If I found it, I cannot find it.
You can, for example, show the Google Doc. I think that's a perfect explanation.
That is what I was trying. Okay, so what does a temporal table? When you set up a temporal table on a table on let's say impressions, each time there is a change on that table, a new record is written on another table called the history of that model, let's say. For example, if you have the model broadcast, then temporal table creates another table called broadcast history, and each time there is an insert, an update, or a remove on the main table, a new record is written on the history table. And the record on the history table has a validity period together with the values. There's also stored from when and until then it is valid.
So T1 and T4 are timestamps.
Yes. So if you want to see it graphically, you have this, where the three colors are three different broadcasts. So broadcast 1, from T0 to T3, I think, the value was 10. Then an impression changed. So from it was T4. From T4 to T5, the value went down. So here you have the whole history. And when you want to know the value in a particular given at a particular time in history, you can draw a vertical line through the time, for example, here through 4, and you see at time 4 the broadcast value was 8, I think. That is what the temporal tables are giving to us. It's a little bit difficult to explain, but
maybe we can say that the chart diagram that you see in the document, that's what we want. That's our ultimate goal. We want this chart diagram that we have in the Google Doc.
Yeah.
Right? And how do we get that? Because we cannot go back in time. The database is the database at this very moment, and we don't know, we don't track the changes that were made to the impressions table, like the votes, right?
Yeah.
So there's no way how we can create that. And the temporal tables is a feature which was built in to Postgres, which allows you that you can track any change to a record in time. So when a record changes, the old state will be written into the history table with a validity up to this point, like up to this time step.
Yeah.
And the new record will be in the actual table. So you can query the history table and check for records that are valid at a given date.
Yes. In fact, also the new value is in the history table, but its validity window, let's call it, has just the starting limit, but it's valid until infinity, let's say. And when you insert a new version of this record, then the old one get the validity 2 attribute of the old record is set it to time now, and the new value has valid from to time now.
Yeah. Does it make sense, Margot? Can you follow us? Like, does it make? Do you get that?
Yeah, I get it, but I didn't know that. Like, I think there was only logs that the Postgres has. I didn't know that they have like history table.
Yes, this is. I think it is. It's Postgres that handles all this logic. I think. I don't think it's the gem itself. What do you think, Robert?
So there's definitely a feature in Postgres. So it's an extension to Postgres with the temporal tables. But I think that the GEM, because they kind of use a different adapter, so we're not using the Postgres adapter anymore with Chrono model. They have their own adapter. So you can add, I want to track this model, right? And I think the GEM will then check for any save action. It will write records to the history table.
Okay.
But the extension is built into Postgres. So the good part, which I'm like really excited about, is that this feature is really brand new. We are making use of like bleeding edge technology, right? So and that's why I'm really excited about this Google Doc, and I suggested Domenico to put that on a blog or something, because there are so many GAMs and solutions for this problem which are inefficient because there was no extension for Postgres so far, and now they have, and now you can really use that feature, and it's fast because it's SQL and it's in the database, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I think we have to work a little bit on the document to make it a good read for everyone. Now it's very much tied to Rundfunk MITBESTIMMEN.
That's correct, of course. That's correct. So I would just push that into the tech talk. Maybe just wait for feedback. Maybe Sam can have a look at this and reads through this and thinks like, what? It sounds interesting, but I don't understand a word. So you get a little feedback, and then you can use that feedback and make the blog post out of it. I wouldn't publish it in Tech Talk when it's perfect. Just push it in Tech Talk. It's something that everybody might be interested, and then wait for feedback, and then you can put it online for everybody. How about that?
Okay. Okay. To get back to what I did on this issue. First, I implemented a solution that was tracking a new attribute on the broadcast model, because I was already looking on this chart, so I thought, well, we want to track KPIs on broadcast, so it would be nice to make a simple query to the database and say, give me all values for broadcasts in a given time window. So the first solution that came to my mind is put an attribute amount on broadcast, update it every time an impression is made or is changed, and then put a history table on the broadcast model. But then, together with Robert, we decided to not to go this way, but to maintain the computation of the KPIs in the views like we have it today. And moreover, to track impressions, because if you track on broadcasts, after you aggregate the impressions to calculate the amount, you of course you lose all the information about the history of impressions itself.
Right.
You can go back. Yes.
So Domenico was caching.
Yeah.
One attribute, like he was caching the approval, for example, on the broadcast model. And I said, well, it's generally preferred. Well, that's one way, definitely. That would definitely solve our problem right here. But in general, it is preferable to have raw data. And don't try to avoid aggregated data, aggregate it at the last step, right? Because you lose so much information. One example, if you go to your to my broadcasts, can you do that for now, Domenico?
Yeah.
And log in. So when you go to my broadcast, you have this my history thing, and that will show you your decisions, like not only the broadcasts that you support, but also the broadcasts that you didn't support. And for example, we want to have this feature that you see. Can you say something so I can see your screen again?
Yeah. You can also click on my image.
Yeah, exactly. There's this button, my history.
Yeah.
Can you click on it?
Yeah, it is
Yes,
my history. Okay, sorry.
History.
Yeah.
Like, and there we can see that Domenico just supported 2 broadcasts.
Yeah.
I have to open the. I hope this will also be on the recording. So I just clicked now on the screen of Domenico just that I can talk and we can all see his screen.
Yeah.
So this will show all impressions of your account, not only those that you supported. So here we see that you supported these 2, but you can also, if you, for example, go and find broadcast and you're logged in and you click on next, then you will create impressions to the database. Do one more. There we go, and you can go back if you want. That should be it. Now, I mean on the my history page. And now we see the impressions that he just created. So he kind of voted neutral on these broadcasts because he had seen them and he decided not to support them, which is also an information. And let's say we want to track all the different activities, like when you change your opinion on Meine Monster und ich, the first one, you can click on the smiley. So he now changed his response to that broadcast. And let's say we want to track the change as an entity. Like we would have something like a real history, like a log or something, where you can really see, okay, now I changed my response to this broadcast. And you couldn't do that if you, for example, cache the KPI in the broadcast.
Yeah.
But you can do that if you have the temporal table on the impressions table, right?
Yes.
That's the reason why. So we have more options if we track everything than if you use aggregated data.
Yes, but the problem was then that how to make the temporal query, let's call it that way, on the view we are using to calculate the KPI value. And if you want, I can show you. Oh no, this is work.
Yeah, and we are soon reaching our 30 minutes limit.
Okay, perhaps it's too late, but very fast. what changed is that here we are querying on history impressions and not all impressions. And then what was needed to be able to query to...
I still see the same screen like before. Do you change, show something else?
Wait, yes.
Ah, now something's happening.
Yeah, I have to share the other page. Here it is. What changed is that here in the view, instead of using the impressions table, is history impressions, and in order to be able to query the given timestamp, the validity attribute has to be in the select here. So when you then query, you can say, let's say.
So do I get for every change on the impression table, do I get another record?
Oh, the records are only on the, yes, of course. Here in the view, yes, if you ask for .all, you get a different query for all. But in the model,
okay.
In the model, I put in the default scope as of time now. So if you don't put anything, you get just the last value.
Well, I think that's a valid solution. I'm happy with that. It's actually something like, yeah, I like the solution. I like it very much.
Yeah, thank you. So here, if you don't put anything, the idea is that by default, it asks for the last value.
Yeah.
So everything that worked before will have to work also now.
Yeah.
But if you specify a date with an s-off, then you get the value at that timestamp.
Yeah.
That was the solution.
Yeah.
Now, what is missing is that the other views, the other statistic views relate on the original broadcast model that didn't have this validity.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. So for me, it makes we can create as many views as we want, right? So a view is just SQL. Like there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, but it's a duplication of.
Yes, exactly. So my only concern is like if we change the normal statistic view, we have to remember we also want to change the temporal statistic view, right?
Yeah.
So that's actually my only concern, redundancy. And redundancy may lead to bugs, but we will find a way for that. I think the solution that you just suggested, I like it a lot. And maybe I just change the name. Like it's KPI, yes, of course, but it's temporal KPI, right? So when we want to create the chart data, we want to use that view, not the general statistic view that you see on the application. So Margo, are you actually still with us? Can you follow us?
Okay. Okay. The name changes. So you suggest not to try to solve the fact that the other views have to work with this, let's call it temporal view?
No. I would say we will have later on a lot of different views for different purposes.
Okay.
We will also have a view where you use it for geographical purposes, right? We have users from different areas. We already know the postal code, the city where they live in, because we have this this IP lookup thing. So for a lot of users, we know approximately where they come from. This is enough. So we can put them all into big areas like federal states. But you want, in order to, for example, create this choropleth map, like this geographical visualization, you just want to show the statistic, but grouped by all those areas. So we have to parameterize the view again, but in a different way. Like you now created the view for the time visualization, and we will have another view for the geographical visualization.
Yeah, but this view itself, when you use it from the model,
yeah,
it is backward compatible. So if you don't specify a date, you will get this exactly the same result as you get when you use statistic broadcast.
Point.
So if we can, I don't know what statistic media is used for, but if it makes use of these values here, then it would be nice.
Yeah.
To have.
Okay, I see your point.
Work.
Okay, we don't have a lot of time anymore.
Okay.
I see your point. So what we could also do is to use this view only in order to remove redundancy, because it's backwards compatible, as you said. If you don't specify a date, we get the exact same results.
Mm-hmm.
For example, what we could do is make this. No, that's not possible. I was just thinking about materialized view. So in order to check what happens on materialized views, for example, if you use temporal tables, I materialized the view, and I found out, wow, the performance boost is incredible. Like I get instant feedback, right? That's, by the way, it's really easy to implement. That's one of the issues that are labeled good first issue, because it's a matter of 2 minutes. But we cannot do this with this view, right? Because you have the parameter in Rails, not in SQL. No?
Well,
no, it's possible.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, we will think about that. I see what you mean. I will think about that.
I just don't know how the statistic media and the other views that are related on statistic broadcast are used. I just have to check that, because it could be that it just works.
Yeah, possibly.
I'm not sure.
It just works. Yeah, media station is just it's a grouping by media station, and there's a little bit more going on. For example, stations, because one broadcast can go with many stations, the KPIs are divided equally.
Mm.
So that is also a little bit more tricky.
Yeah.
Anyhow, okay, it's we are almost done. 7 minutes. And I would like to do some kind of, let's say, planning. So this was the retrospective, like everybody told what she was doing, and to get everybody on the same page. The reason is knowledge transfer, right? It's really, really important for teams to have this knowledge transfer. We talked about the bus factor. What happens if one of your team members gets hit by the bus? What does that happen? What does it mean for your code base and your team? Like, you should not have one person who understands everything, and you get those knowledge silos, I think they're called. So I hope everybody understands what the other person is doing. Like, I hope Smago now understands what Dominique is doing. I hope you also understand what Smago was doing with this image URL.
Yeah.
And now I would share my screen and give a little bit background about the what's going on. Oh, wrong one. Little bit background about the new issues. So what I found out is this is something for you. So there's now a slight prioritization. So first of all, we have good feedback on Twitter. People shared us, and that gave us like yeah, she's doing some kind of radio, and she shared it. Also, Carsten now is writing for us on Twitter. So we decided we write in German and English. Maybe you noticed that. And the effect was that more people checked out our application. Oh, that was actually, I want to share that. Like, I really like that image here. That's an iCat. And we have a lot of new users and a lot of new broadcasts. So yeah, again, more people. So people also added more broadcasts to it. That's great. And they added the image to it. But we have one problem that I found out today. So there's something wrong with the pagination. I show you the issue. Oh, that's the wrong one. So I'll explain issue number 343, pagination bug. The problem is, if you search, for example, for TV and BR Fernsehen, there's a problem with the pagination that we sometimes see not all broadcast and sometimes broadcast twice. So pay attention to those four. So here it is again, right? Do you see it?
Yes, and why do you see 4 and not 6?
Yeah, exactly. Why? And it says it's 12 broadcasts. Oh, that would indeed make sense. Okay, this time it matches, but the last time I checked it out, we had like 5 broadcasts per page and 3 pages in total, so that would be 15. That doesn't make any sense at all. So apparently there's something wrong, and I'm 99% sure what this is. If you don't specify a certain order for pagination, the database can randomly assign which broadcasts it chooses for the result set. You must define a certain order. Otherwise, yeah, you will end up with this here, like not enough entries for the result set or whatever.
Yes, I think when I worked on the order by problem, I read that the database it's not predictable how it will order if you don't specify it.
Exactly, and so that's something that's a bug. Obviously, is a bug, and it's kind of confusing, really. Like, I would say that's also a priority. I will probably check it tonight, maybe if I have time. I don't know. So that was bug number 1, which catch my attention today. And there's another feature which is also really important. So we now have a lot of images, but I have actually no idea if we are legally allowed to show them. So I just wrote an email to one of those broadcasters where the images are from. Like this user used more. She added a lot of broadcasts from one particular broadcast, and I asked this broadcaster by mail if we are allowed to use their images. And actually, it would be great. I mean, not only to have the link for the image, but also the link to the website itself, right? Let's see if I can find a broadcast with an image. Come on.
Search for hochfahren.
Yeah, also now the radio. Whoops. Here it is. That's the one. So actually, it would be great that we have a detail page, right? We can click on and we get immediately to the website of Bayern 3, Spätschicht, präsentiert von Puls. So that would be the details page, right? And we can also see the image. And my idea was that we can show somehow a link, like maybe not on this page, to like not to lose people, but if they're really interested into one broadcast, they can go on this detail page and maybe click on the image, or maybe there's a link somewhere here where they will get to the website. Like every broadcast usually has a website, and these websites are called Mediathek. So here you can see where this image is also taken from. So we can actually maybe catch 2 flies with 1 strike. Is that actually an English idiom? It's literally translated from German. So first thing is maybe to say where this image is taken from, like something like I took it from here. Second thing, let people check it out, check out the content, because now they can, I think they can, yeah, for example, they can go here and check out, is it an audio file? I don't know. Ah, so timer says it's 45 minutes, but that's okay. Actually, that was all I wanted to say. So this issue here, link to broadcast website, that's a good first issue. Not because it's small. There's actually a lot of stuff to do, because you have to change backend and front end, right? You have to add Mediathek ORL to the broadcast model. You have to add it to the broadcast params that will be exposed in the controller. You have to serialize it, blah, blah, blah. And in the front end, you have to change a few things. So there's actually a lot of work, but it's a nice feature. Like, you will learn, whoever is going to do it will learn a lot about Amber and Rails and how they both talk with each other. Is it clear, or is it does it make sense? Is it reasonable? Did I explain it right?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome.
Like you said, 2 flies with 1. How did you say?
One strike.
1 strike. Yeah. You normally, when you use an image, you have to put also the credit. So you solve that problem, and you give an information,
yeah,
a better information on the broadcast itself. So,
and
yes, also the fact that it's a good first issue. It's not too complicated, but it touches everything. So it's for who wants to learn full stack, it's a good first issue.
Yeah. Exactly. So this is it. It's how long are we talking? 50 minutes or something? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the planning. Like, usually in an ordinary Scrum, if it would be a team in a company, for example, then people would choose or assign themselves to issues. I just let that open to everybody. Like, not all the people who are interested into this project are now attending. So really, it's up to you. I can just say, we have this nice feature, blah, blah, blah. And who's ever going to do it will learn a lot. I don't know. Right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
So,
I think I will work on to complete the temporal table stuff, because the tests are missing.
Yeah.
And then if I have time, I will see the bug pagination.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I also, if I have time, I will check out your branch. So keep on pushing.
Yeah.
Then I can check it out, and don't be afraid of not writing tests or something. That's all right. I can also help you with the tests.
Okay. I mean, this time it was very real experimenting, because.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't write tests in that case as well. But as soon as I know, I have to do this and that, then I would start testing. But we can pair on this. Yesterday I paired with Will on making this login window less obtrusive. I don't know if you have seen it. The recording is also on YouTube, so it's bad user experience to have this login window which you cannot close, right? What's happening? Yeah, so when you click on that, like this login window, you cannot close it. No way, right? You have to go back and refresh the page. That's bad user experience, and we try to fix that. So I also hope I also help Will on that one. I will write some tests, and also I will try to help Sigu, who had his first pull request. I I don't know if you've seen that.
Yes, I read the message. It's my first pull request.
Yeah, now we have a error page, like a 404 error page. So when you, for example, visit this page, you'll see this. Nice. Awesome. Cool. Margot, do you have any questions? Like, was everything okay? Any feedback for me, for example?
Actually, no. I will check like these issues. I don't know. These with issues that are good first issues. Should we leave to people that come like fresh, or?
It really doesn't matter. So you can choose whatever you like.
Okay, cool.
You can also work on good first issues. I just try to, like, it's a feature of GitHub. I have seen on GitHub, they introduced it. And I said, well, that's actually a good idea. And if it's a convention or a standard, yes, of course, let's go for it. And I thought about all our junior developers in Agile Ventures. I had to learn a little bit. Usually I write user stories from the perspective of the user only, and then they're very, very high level, and they're large. And I don't think that's ideal for people from Agile Ventures who don't know the project, who don't live in Germany, who don't know the situation, and who don't understand the background maybe, and they are more interested into learning the technology. So I said, maybe let's add some subtasks as issues and make them small enough so people can learn on those, right?
Yep.
That was the only idea, and to find a lot of steps that you can label as good first issue.
Cool.
Right. Let's call it a day, I would say.
Yes.
Okay.
At least we didn't have a lengthy meeting this time. Right. Cool. Thank you so much for being here. See you next week. I would actually like to change the schedule, but we can do that in Slack, I would say.
Yes, later, of course. Later.
Okay.
Either later or earlier, because I will have a sports course next on Thursday, and I will not be back in time on 8 p.m. or 6 p.m. UTC.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, we can do later. I don't mind. Like.
Right. Cool.
Okay.
Thank you so much for attending.
Have a nice weekend.
Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.